just dander, human dander. Everything in this, you know what? You're catching us mid-conversation. That's what's happening. What conversation? I'm never going to tell you. It will remain a secret. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, children of all ages. Welcome to Living on a Thin Line with Tony Vicich. I am Tony Vicich. We come to you 6 days a week at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are daily distraction for all the anger, anxiety, hoopla, and weirdness in the world today. We're brought to you on 3 platforms, ComedySchoolsRadioNetwork.com strictly for your listening pleasure. We are also on YouTube on the Comedy Schools channel and on Comedy School and on Facebook Live on my personal page, Tony Vicich. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your pals there's something to do at 2 when they are sitting around their house going, what? No stimulus check. I want to give a special shout out to Charles Kaminsky, who's home recuperating and is watching. Charles, I hope you are doing well. We're keeping good thoughts for you. Hello to Champ de Blasio. I'd like to know, Champ, right now, what's the latest pizza that you've eaten that you would recommend as far as coming from the store? Jerry, the talented artist and all-around swell fella out in Woodland Hills is with us. Who else we got going in here? And, of course, our mainstays, the bass in our band, Tina and Mike Lawson, along with several others. The entire Living on a Thin Line family is beginning to gather on a Friday. I would say thank God it's Friday, but I'm not going to say that. It's so trite. And Fridays are... for us, a lot of times, Fridays is actually a big part of the work week, being in the nightclub entertainment business. I'm fortunate enough right now to be involved in a nightclub where it's not necessary for me to be there on the weekends. So I will not be attending the festivities, but you should. You should, if you're in the greater Gilbert area and you want to be out someplace safe, social distancing. A lot of great Google reviews today on JP's Comedy Club, jpscomedyclub.com. out there in Gilbert, Arizona, about how good Jim is at making sure that everybody's following protocols as far as masks, hand sanitizer, social distancing, and still making sure that a darn good show gets put on. So we're kind of proud of that. He and I had about an hour. We talked on the phone today. Let's see. What have I got here? I got stuff here. I got followed. Champ de Blasio says, I'm not too crazy about frozen pizza, but if you want convenience, try this pizza. Try Trader Joe's. Okay, so we got a Trader Joe's recommendation from Champ as far as frozen pizzas go. Now, out where we are in Maricopa, there is no Trader Joe's. There's going to be a Sprouts real soon. Champ, I don't know if you've eaten a pizza from Sprouts, but we've eaten some Walmart pizza when we were punishing ourselves. But if you've got any recommendation on Sprouts Pizza, we'd love to hear about it. Champ de Blasio does great pizza reviews on his personal page. You can see in his comments here how to spell his name. So a lot of great feedback on what's going on with the club. Spent the morning trying to put together the month. Are you trying to put together your month right now? Are you trying to figure out what you're going to do with the month? Jerry put up CPK. So I'm trying to figure out what that is. I think I knew what that meant in Los Angeles as far as pizza goes. Jerry, if you could spell it out. Jerry, spell it out for us, okay? Just spell it out. So we can get a better understanding of what your recommendation is on pizza pie. I used to manage a Pizza Hut restaurant, and if you were my friend, there was no better pizza than a personal pizza made by Tony Vicich in those days. That my secret was double everything. And then later on, they made that like a thing. Jerry says California Pizza Kitchen. I don't know how you guys feel about pizza. We started talking about it, you putting your month together, but we're kind of talking about pizza now. I prefer a thin crust. I prefer tomato sauce base with cheese. My favorite meat on a pizza is pepperoni. I guess that doesn't make me too original, but I also like mushrooms and Canadian bacon. But I was raised, of course, on box Chef Boyardee pizzas that my mama used to make. like $3 and made an entire pizza, could feed the family with leftovers. And she would roll out that dough and put on that sauce and sprinkle on that cheese. And now when I taste it, it tastes like cardboard. Of course, as you get older, everything else tastes like cardboard. Kevin Brown is joining us. Kevin Brown is going to be joining us on a couple of upcoming live shows we have too. I'm going to tell you about it a little bit. He's voting thin crust. So I'm a thin crust guy. Kevin Brown's a thin crust guy. Shirley, the producer, is shaking her head vehemently no. She likes a thick crust. But I mean like Chicago-style thick, Shirley, or just like regular classical crust?
Classic.
She's like classical crust. I get that. In St. Louis, where I grew up, there is a chain. It's a small chain called Emo's. Champ de Blasio is a thin crust. There we go. All right. Called Emo's. And they make a pizza that tastes like no others. And I think that it's like a lot of regional foods. If you grew up on it, it's absolutely divine. And if you didn't grow up on it, it's like, what is this? But I love Emo's Pizza. I'm able to get Emo's Pizza here in the greater Phoenix area. And I'm able to get it at my friend Fraser's restaurant. He's moved it from its original location in Scottsdale up, gosh darn, I forget the name of the road. But and I haven't been to the new place. But for many years, I had a theater right by his restaurant. George grew up in St. Louis, and he made Emo-style pizza. And it was like a love letter from home. My brother Jerry, it just shows you two people raised in the same household. One ends up good, one ends up evil. It's the story of many a great tale. Brothers. My brother Jerry saying Chicago style in Chicago is unbeatable. So Jerry, let me be clear on this, okay? And I don't want to start some sort of family feud, some sort of Hatfield and Hatfield thing here. You prefer a Chicago style deep dish pizza over St. Louis Emo's Pizza. Is that correct, Gerald Vicich? I'm asking. He will put his comments up. By the way, the show is built off 3 tent poles. You're already experiencing one of them, and that is your questions and comments on the social media sites that we mentioned, where we attempt to question and comment back. Oftentimes, we have some sort of a knick-knack or doodad or falderall or our curiosity or curio that we share with you and weave a personal story around some memento. And also, we recommend one artist or one piece of music. And to make things easier for you when we recommend them, they are placed in the comments by my producer, Shirley. And also, I put them in the title. And if you bear with me a second, I'm actually pointing out to her the first track on this, Shirley, will be the music today. So wait a couple minutes and put it up until I start talking about it, okay? So that'll be the track. So that's what we do, and we do that in the second half of our fast-moving 30 minutes. Bob Stevenson, you're on. I mean, some people I see their names, some people I don't. For a long time, I thought the only people that watched the show or listened to the show was people whose names I see popped up on Facebook Live, and that's simply not true. I've now encountered a large number of people throughout the community or through Facebook message or other messages who've told me that they watch and listen, and I just never knew. So we've got a pretty nice little audience here, pretty nice little family of man. Our original slogan was, it's not a podcast, it's a community. And we talk about weighty things like the pandemic and pizza. We cover it all from pandemic to pizza. Jerry is saying, yes, that he prefers Chicago-style deep dish over St. Louis thin crust emo style. That's my own brother. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to, now's not the time for any sort of family squabbles, because, that was one of the things that during Thanksgiving, I didn't have anybody at my Thanksgiving table arguing politics or anything with me because no one was here. And you know what? And I found that to be a big plus. I'm not going to start a squabble here, but Jerry obviously went from raised just like me on homemade in the box Chef Boyardee pizzas. Grew up a lot on Pizza Hut, Emo's pizzas. That's what we grew up on. Pizza Hut and Emo's pizza. And Shakey's. There was a chain in St. Louis called Shakey's. They had a great slogan. We serve fun at Shakey's, also pizza. You know what? I never cared for their pizza. Thought it tastes like bleh. I used to like, back in the 70s, I liked a thin crust pepperoni pizza at Domino's. I enjoyed that very much. But Jerry, who was raised on the exact same pizza as me, has moved on. Moved on. His taste buds have either evolved or devolved, depending upon, how you look at it. And he has turned his back on thin crust Emo's Pizza. It is now an acolyte of the deep dish. We're getting other things here. Joe Gannon is a thin crust guy. DJ Payne, Lou Malnadis. We don't know that. We don't know that one, but if you could tell us more about it. Jerry probably likes California Pizza Kitchen. He said that. It was the first thing he said, DJ. They like California Pizza Kitchen. You weren't here on the show yet. Joe Gannon says, Shakey's. I love the Laurel and Hardy movies they would show. Yeah, that's right. They showed old movies, and it was kind of a Chuck E. Cheese for adults. Jerry's also recommending Pizzeria Uno on Wabash in Ohio. If you don't know where Wabash in Ohio is, he's talking about in the Brentwood, the West LA, Brentwood, California area. He and I both know Pizzeria Uno very well. Jerry tended bar there for years. It was down the street from a place I tend to bar at called Mom's Saloon. And in between Pizzeria Uno and Mom's Saloon, in those few short blocks, is where OJ killed his wife. And yes, OJ did it. So those are the neighborhoods we used to hang out in. So wait, Jerry, are you talking about one in Chicago, or are you talking about the one in West LA? Not Brentwood. Forget everything I just said. He's talking about, Jerry's given a specific Pizzeria Uno in Chicago. DJ Payne tells us that Lou Manalo's has 2 locations in Arizona and 20 in Chicago. Best pizza ever. Daniel Coe's watching. I don't know his feelings on pizza, but the conversation today is about whether you prefer thin crust or thick crust, and then classical crust, and then Chicago style deep dish. We're discovered that my brother, who was raised in the same household with me, we both lived in the same city into our early 20s, that he has moved on to Chicago deep dish, while I remain true blue to St. Louis style thin crust. And people are putting up their certain recommendations. DJ Baines says Jerry knows. Yeah, well, you know what? You don't work for him, do you, DJ? That's the original Unos. I'll give him a pass for mentioning CPK. Champ, who does pizza reviews, Champ de Blasio, and this guy knows his shit when it comes to pizza, says my favorite pizza in LA is Don Michele Pizzeria, one of the best I've ever been to. Don Michele Pizzeria. And you want to put up the address, then when we're all out running around again, and I make many trips to Los Angeles, Champ, when we're all out running around, I'll stop in and I'll have a slice in your honor. I think some of the best pizza I've ever eaten, okay? I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into this whole thing. Now, you're not going to put a monkey wrench on a pizza. It'll make you sick to your stomach. You choke. You die. Monkey wrench. Is in New York City. Tina Michael says salt or no salt. It's a good thing Jim Perry isn't here right now with his salt on his pizza. Joe wants to know, has Champ had Pizzeria Bianco? Does Champ know Dave Portnoy? I don't know. Look, you guys can ask each other questions in the comments here. So if you want to answer those, go ahead. Joe Gannon said that one used to be pretty good when I was living in Phoenix. New York pizza, the best pizza in the world. Now, that's hard to believe. And before I ever went to New York City, I used to have friends of mine. Place to get good pizzas in New York. In New York, it's the only place to get good pizza. All this other pizza's garbage. It's garbage, And then I went to New York. And the best pizza I ever had by the slice was in a dirty deli on 49th, 3 doors down from the Hotel Carter, or the Carter Hotel. And I used to go in there and get slices in there, and it was absolutely delicious. I've also had great pizza at Umberto, but I've had great pizza at Umberto's. If you don't know Umberto's is infamous, legendary. It's the place where Crazy Joe Gallo was shot. They've moved it. It's actually catty corner from its original location. But I've never had a bad slice of pizza in New York City. I think higher pie in New York. But I've had many a slice. And what a baby moth guy told me one time, he goes, it's the water. The water. He goes, we got a restaurant in Los Angeles, but we import water because the water out there is shit. And I just imagine this baby moth guy, young maid guy, was telling me about his restaurants in La Cienega. I was working some clubs in New Jersey, and that they actually flew water from New York City to Los Angeles, so that because it's all really in the dough. It's all really in the dough. No. All right, let's see where we got some other things going on here. Diane House says salt on pizza just wrong. Yeah, that's church here at Living on a Thin Line. That is church. But then my partner, Jim Perry, put salt on his pizza, and he's from Chicago. So what are you going to do? Joe Gannon says New York pizza is the best. On that, we agree, as well as coleslaw and barbecue pork. That we don't agree on. But, Joe Gannon, now I was going to do this today, but I'm going to wait till tomorrow. My grandson and I are going to barbecue pork, and I'm going to make coleslaw, and we're going to put some on top, see how it tastes. I prefer a certain style, a certain taste of hamburger dill pickle on is my side with barbecued pork chops or pork steaks. Jervis says there's a great pizzeria next to the World Trade Center, or where the World Trade Center was. Champ says he's the best. I don't know whom he was referring to, someone earlier in the comments. Joe Gannon says Umberto's, the old one, still had the bullet holes in the brick facade. Yeah, yes, it did. And I ate it with Bill Hicks in the 80s. Was also Review S, rescue station during 9/11. Umberto's was a rescue station during 9/11. All right, you know who's on right now who's going to be able to tell us about pizza, because he's a New York guy. This is a guy who actually put money in Bob Dylan's hat in the early 60s when this guy was living in Greenwich Village and Bob Dylan just hit there. Arthur Belkind has joined us. Arthur Belkind, very funny comic, good guy, good lawyer, good husband, good father. I never cared for his choice in shirts, but I never brought that up to now. Arthur, we're talking about the best pizza in the world. We started talking about pizza somehow, and that's what the whole show's become about. We've got Champ de Blasio here who does pizza reviews. We got people chiming in: New York, Chicago, St. Louis, thin crust, thick crust, Chicago style. Now, I know that you lived in the Village in the early 60s, and you've lived in Chicago as well, Arthur, and have traveled the world. So if you were to chime in here on Pizza Pie, maybe we can wrap this up with you. I don't know. But it's been a good conversation about pizza. I'll tell you that right now. We have rock and rolled about pizza. Sometimes, man, sometimes the original is the best. Sometimes whatever, the foundation of something is absolutely always going to be great. I'm going to look up the history of pizza. I don't have it in front of me, but where'd that CD go, Cheryl? Did I hand that to you? Did you hand it back?
That's right there.
Okay. So we're gonna move on a little bit here to the music portion. If we still want to talk about pizza, if you still want to put things in the comments, I definitely want to see them. This show is as much yours as it is mine. Just want to remind you that this Friday and Saturday at JP's Comedy Club, jpscomedyclub.com, 860 East Warner Road, Gilbert, Arizona. Manny Hernandez is doing 2 shows this tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. Shows at 7 and 9. If you're looking for a place that does great does it right, great safe social distancing, okay, handles the mask issue well. All right, make sure that the performers. We don't seat the front row because the performer has to be 12 foot away right now. So great shows there, And then December 21st, I'll be having a free intro for my workshops there as well. We got that going, so please go check that out. Got some shows coming up I'm going to tell you about. But then, of course, December 20th, 5 p.m. will be the Class Clown show. You want to check that out. New Year's Eve. This is important. So listen, especially if you don't live in the Phoenix area or you're not going out. And I respect both of those things. There's going to be a New Year's Eve show at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time with a North American countdown. So at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, it actually turns midnight on Newfoundland. That's in Canada, yes. But we call it a North American countdown Jim Perry and I will be co-headlining it. I'm going to turn it into a hybrid Zoom show. So those of you at home or those of you around the country, you're going to be able to experience a very cool live stand-up comedy that will have an audience, but will also be brought to you on Zoom. So start watching my page and, of course, this show for information on that, because we'll be rolling it out soon. Arthur Belkind says, to go back to the pizza, 2 totally different pies. New York, thin with garlic rocks. Chicago is more like a meal, both much better than in Italy. Yeah, okay. I've heard that. I've never been to Italy, but I've heard that the pizza in Italy does not hold a candle. Of course, pizza couldn't hold a candle. Pizza has no arms. It has no body. It's a foodstuff. But like a cactus could hold a candle because it's got that arms. But not a pizza. All right. So I've told you about the shows coming up. I've told you about the workshop. We got things going on. Let's get to the music, shall we? Musical selection today. I started to go with something from the 70s, but I decided to go with something from the 60s. Jerry says he's never had pizza in Italy. I've never been to Italy, and I've never been to Spain, but I've been to Oklahoma. Now, they don't tell me I was born there in Oklahoma, not Arizona. What does it matter? Hoyt Axton, who got it? All right, 4 points. Okay, I was going to go with a female singer from the 70s, but then I was going through my CDs, and I go, we haven't talked about this group, and we haven't talked about the great girl groups of the 60s. Okay, so when I'm holding my hand right now, I don't have an original album by them, and I'm sorry that I don't, but I did grab a CD of theirs, of some compilations called Playlist, the very best of the Ronettes. Those are the Ronettes, Ronnie Spector and the Ronettes. And I don't know of too many songs that ever topped Be My Baby. Matter of fact, that original drum beat, that has been used countless times since it was first recorded, I believe, at Gold Star Records. I could be wrong, recording studio, with Phil Spector, put together the Ronettes. Phil Spector created some of the greatest music in the history of American pop music, bar none, hands down. The Righteous Brothers, the Ronettes, on and on and on and on. His wall of sound, the work he did with the Beatles, is unparalleled. Unparalleled. And what he did with the Ronettes still resonates today. That opening riff on Be My Baby is just incredible. That, and of course, their other big hit was Baby, I Love You. They had a big hit with Walking in the Rain, with I Can Hear Music. Okay. Those were the 4 of the biggest in my mind's eye. Was just absolutely wonderful, wonderful. The sound that those 3 young ladies were able to do, the way that Phil Spector mixed it, was unparalleled. And you got to listen to that song again. Every once in a while, I just go back and listen to that song. Be My Baby was written by Phil Spector. Baby, I Love You was written by Phil Spector. Walking in the Rain was written by Phil Spector. I Can Hear Music was written by Phil Spector. There was another man with Ellie, or a woman, Ellie Greenwich, as well. There's other songs on here, but those are the biggies. Phil Spector, of course, very interesting man. How good was the music? You know, many, many, many years later, what was his name? Did 2 Tickets to Paris. Do you remember this, Shirley?
Eddie Money.
Eddie Money. Eddie Money wrote a song as an homage to Ronnie Spector about Ronnie Spector. Just like Ronnie said, and she's actually sings background on it. Stunningly beautiful voice, charismatic person, married Phil Spector. Once again, we have that interesting dichotomy in creativity. Phil Spector, brilliant. His first hit was a song by a group called the Teddy Bears, which he was in with a female singer, called To Know Him Is to Love Him, which was, and it sounds like a love song, sounds like a teenage girl singing about her boyfriend, but it was actually the inscription on his father's tombstone. Tiny man, little guy, with a personality the size of most cities, but a powerful, dark presence that many of us now know finally culminated in the murder of a woman at his house a number of years ago. There's a movie about it with Al Pacino on HBO. He created so much great music, but he was a gun nut. He was insane. He was a paranoid. And eventually, the very thing, oftentimes, this is what I kind of want to get in here as we wrap up. Oftentimes, and we should all watch for this, the very thing that helps you succeed, the very thing that drives you, the very thing that makes you so focused that no one can stop you, is the thing that can later kill you. Phil Spector's drive for control, he was a music producer, and for perfection, the number of takes he would do be astounding, made him into an impossible human being. A guy who was well before the gun craze of, the 90s, or back in the 60s, carrying a gun in the studio, sometimes in frustration and anger, or to intimidate people, fired it off into the ceiling of a recording studio. I saw a Merv Griffin from the early 60s. It was one of those bizarre shows. And on it was Eartha Kitt, Richard Pryor, Phil Spector. And Phil Spector was on there, and Merv Griffin even referenced, he goes, well, these goons, these bodyguards you got hanging around next to you, right? He's going, I need my bodyguards. He goes, not here you carry a gun. He goes, more than that pea shooter Pryor carries. Pryor's going, I got a gun. I'll shoot you. It became an argument between two guys with guns in a New York television studio. And then it settled down. But Spector was so oppositionally defiant, so sarcastic, so arrogant that you could not like him. But you could love his music. You could love his music. And probably the greatest song that he ever wrote and produced, and he wrote and produced dozens upon dozens on dozens. Okay, and I'm going to have more on Ronnie Spector too, who was in a very horrible, abusive relationship with him. Okay, that she, thank goodness, eventually got out of. But the one gift he gave her was forming the band, the Ronettes around her, and writing for her and producing Be My Baby. And it's a gift to us too. It's a gift to us too. So I can tell by, I can tell it's time to wrap up. Anyway, that's our show. I was going to cover more serious subjects today, but darn it, you guys don't tune into this show for serious subjects all the time.
You only have 2 minutes.
Or if ever, what?
You only have 2 minutes.
I know. I said I was going to. I'm not going to do that now. We're going to save that for later on. Now, listen, we're not here tomorrow. We take Saturdays off. We're back Sunday at 2 p.m. I look forward to seeing all of you again Sunday. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your pals. There's something to do at 2 when they join not just a podcast, but a community living on a thin line where we talk about pizza, politics, and Phil Spector. B. All right? Thanks a lot. See you Sunday. Bye-bye.
You think he always had a gun because he was such a slight man?
Could be. And he was such a